Hi. I thought it would be fun during this pandemic to put together a little video of how I make the bread that I make every week that I'm always posting pictures of, in case somebody else thought it would be fun to try and use this recipe and make some bread. It's very easy. You use 3 cups of flour, 3 cups here, 3 cups there. We're making 2 loaves. 2 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast, and just under 12 ounces of water is how I do it. And it goes like this. 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Actually, it's 2 teaspoons of salt, sorry. Extra 1/2 teaspoon. 1.5 teaspoons of yeast, 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. And then we're gonna mix that around while it's dry. We're gonna mix that around while it's dry very quickly. Then we take our water and we pour it in. And I'll show you just how fast this mix is. You want to make sure you get all the dry flour to all the moisture. It starts to take shape very quickly. And as soon as you see all those little bits of flour start to stick and you got a ball, you're done. You're done. And that really is the hardest part of this bread. And I might take it and turn it over. Now our second. Pour it right in. Just very quickly get that flour everywhere with a nice big spoon paddle or something. I don't use my hands anymore because it's mess. But then towards the end, I do shape it quickly with my hands and make sure I like the feel. Good. And now we have 2 doughs ready to rise. We're gonna cover them with a wet cloth. Hi everybody, I forgot about my towel. So covered, I rise in an oven that has a proofing setting, but you can rise anywhere on your counters fine. And so we're gonna let that rise. I will see you in 3.5 hours where I'll tell you what we're going to be doing with our bread pots. Hi. Well, welcome back. It's been about 3.5 hours and we're going to check on our dough, move it around a little bit, and we're going to preheat our oven with our bread pots in there. Bread pot, mine is a cast iron longish one. I have another cast iron roundish one. They can be ceramic, cast iron. You just want a heavy pot. We're gonna put those right in the oven and set it to preheat at 500 for about half an hour. And then we check on our dough. At this point, they look like this, kind of sloppy. And what we want to do is use our dough scraper. And if you don't have one of these, it makes it a lot harder. And some of the recipes online call for you to dump the dough out and use all kinds of cloths and things. I don't do that. I just leave it in the bowl because it's too much work the other way. So I'm folding it over 3 or 4 times so that my puddle of bread looks a little bit more like a bowl. And on our second loaf, same thing. Dig in, fold it over. Dig in, fold it over. And you kind of want to get the dough that's stuck to the sides off. And so once again, something like a bowl of bread. We are going to cover those again for about 30 minutes. and then we are going to put them into the preheated pots and bake our bread. Hi, okay, so we've had our pot in the oven preheating at 500 degrees for half an hour. Now we're gonna take that out, slop our bread boule into it, cover it, and put it back in at 500 for a half an hour. So, here we go. And this is also easier with a scraper like this, but a spatula will work. Obviously get it all off all the sides and try to have it slumped down as boule-like as you can. Beautiful, let's get a look at that right in there. Lovely. Lid on. Back in the oven. 500 degrees, half an hour, and then we'll take the lid off and I'll see you then. All right, 27 seconds left on our half an hour bake with the lids on in the oven. When this timer goes, we're gonna open the oven up, take the lids off, and bake for another 10 minutes uncovered. I continue to work without camera staff in these hard times. Here we go. Okay, 10 more minutes and we're done. All right, so it's still just me, so I'm going to try to finish this up. It's been 10 minutes cooking with the baking, with the lid off. So I'm going to try to get these out onto the stove and out of the pots while filming with one hand in an oven glove and not screw anything up. Here we go. Oh, that's a heavy one. Ah. And let's get a look in there. Nice looking bread, beauty. You can just dump that right out. Turn it over to cool. We can pull this one out with our hands, put it there to cool. Let's get another look at that bread. I think that looks pretty great. I think if you're pulling this out for your family during the pandemic, you're not gonna get complaints. And I'll have some wrap up to say later. But basically we're done. It cools, don't cut it until it's cooled. Maybe a little bit warm to melt some butter, but give it some time. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, happy St. Patty's, happy pandemic, happy bread baking.